You were taught to want loudly. You were never shown how to listen. You tried to bend reality with words while your nervous system whispered a different scripture beneath them. Desire shouted, but the field heard the tremor of doubt inside your bones. That is why nothing moved. That is why you kept repeating phrases like an incantation while your body remained unconvinced. The field is not persuaded by volume, it is persuaded by coherence. You arrive here because some interior instrument has finally snapped to a faint, precise station. It is not motivation, it is not hype. It is the click of a dial when the frequency lands. Your life has been a long drift between stations, static, flashes of music, more static. You assumed the problem was lack of effort, it was misalignment of signal. You transmit one thing with your mouth and another with your microtension. The quantum field integrates both and returns the average. The average has been your loop. You are the observer, but observation is not mere seeing, it is measurement. And measurement, in physics and in psyche, collapses uncertainty into form. Every second, your brain infers a model of the world, minimizing prediction error to protect you. If your deep model expects scarcity, it will curve attention toward confirming evidence and dampen signals that contradict it. Survival loves being right more than it loves being free. Your manifestations kept failing because your deeper model was never updated. You tried to repaint the screen without touching the code. Language cannot bribe the Bayesian machinery beneath your ribs. It must be met, not ignored. There is a method the field respects, and it begins with a subtraction. You will remove excess noise. You will stop broadcasting mixed-phase waves of want and fear. You will become intolerant of internal static. This is not positivity. This is precision. Imagine an atomic clock inside your heart and another inside your prefrontal cortex. When they drift, the universe receives a smeared timestamp and returns delays. When they synchronize, even small inputs cascade. Coherence is compounding, so you sit not to escape the world, but to measure it from within. One breath to map the body, one breath to name the tremor, one breath to let the tremor be felt without narrative. You are not soothing. You are sampling. You are taking high-fidelity data of the present waveform and refusing to lie about it. Honesty is calibration. Honesty is the first sacred technology. Your cells have waited years for you to stop pretending and start observing with surgical clarity. Now the room changes. It looks the same, but edges sharpen. Your attention narrows into a beam that does not wobble. The beam falls on a single atom of your life. One conversation, one request, one financial code, and the atom behaves differently because you are measuring it differently. This is not metaphor. This is the observer effect, stropped to a razor's edge inside your behavior. You feel the click again, 2 clocks, then 3, then the whole inner network slipping into phase like a choir finding its note. You do not force. You tune. You do not beg. You specify. You do not hope. You measure. The signal is here. Hold it. You think you chose your goals. In truth, your goals were selected by an error-minimizing machine that calls itself you. The organism chases familiar pain because familiar pain is predictable, and prediction feels safe to the oldest circuits. That is why you kept summoning replicas of yesterday and calling it resistance. Your cortex advertised a future, your midbrain bid on a past. The field cleared the trade at the average price and delivered repetition. Precision was lost in the spread. Look closer. Every intention rides on a carrier wave your physiological state. If the carrier is noisy, the content distorts, like a violin played through a storm of static. Your nervous system is an RF transmitter. Respiratory rhythm sets the clock. Vagal tone steadies the gain. Heart rate variability writes the envelope. When these signals decohere, the field receives jitter, and jitter is delay. You were not blocked. You were off phase. You mistook affirmation for measurement. You mistook fantasy for signal. You fixed sentences but ignored sampling rate. The brain updates its model of the world based on error signals, mismatch between expectation and sensation. If you chant abundance while your interoceptive channel reports tension in the gut and cold hands, the prediction engine flags threat, allocates attention to scanning, and starves imagination of what's. Manifestation fails not because vision is untrue, but because bandwidth is stolen by unclosed loops of unprocessed sensation. The field returns what you actually model, not what you verbally declare. Your history lives as priors. Priors bias perception. Perception shapes action. Action confirms priors. The loop closes. Trauma is not an event. It is a stuck prior with high confidence, and confidence dictates how aggressively the brain filters the world. The more certain you are that love leaves, money evaporates, efforts embarrass you, the more your sensory cortex edits evidence to protect the belief that predicts best. In other words, the belief that hurts consistently. The organism would rather be right than be free. This is the cold geometry you must confront. Name the pattern of sabotage precisely. You delay the email you could send in 90 seconds, then spend 90 minutes anesthetizing the cortisol spike you manufactured by not sending it. You ask for a sign from the universe, receive one, then negotiate it downward to coincidence so that you can preserve the exquisite safety of not risking a bright ask. You write a plan, then flood your day with micro-urgencies until no oxygen remains, proving to your nervous system that the world is too fast for clarity and too loud for signal. All of this is measurement. All of this is manifestation, just not the one your mouth intended. Under a microscope, the sabotage resolves into physics, phase noise. Your body holds multiple unsynchronized oscillators, breath, heartbeat, cortical rhythms, endocrine cycles. When intention is set from a fragment-only cortex, only fantasy, the other oscillators continue to broadcast older timestamps. The field hears several clocks disagreeing about now and responds with ambiguity. Ambiguity becomes delay. Delay becomes the story of your life. So the diagnosis is simple, and it is unforgiving. You were not wrong to want. You were imprecise in how you measured and broadcast. You treated the quantum field like a wish fountain. It is a phase-sensitive amplifier. It boosts what is coherent, it attenuates what is split. You were split. There is a second cut to make. Observe the dopamine economy underneath your spiritual language. Anxious anticipation pays out quick chemical coins. Disciplined coherence pays slow compounding. You became a collector of near-hits oracles, synchronicities, partial proofs, each one spiking hope, each one depleting the account needed for stable action. You confused arousal with alignment. You confused novelty with destiny. The organism got high, the field got noise. Now remove the ornament and say it clean. Your body never believed you. It is not an insult. It is a measurement. Belief in this architecture is not a sentence. It is a synchronized signature: breath, even, heart variable, gaze steady, musculature, quiet, language sparse. When those signatures appear, the priors loosen by mathematics, not by magic. The model must update when prediction error is held in stillness long enough to be integrated. That is the sacred function of patience, to keep the aperture open while the old equation dissolves and the new fit emerges. You are not here to be inspired. You are here to be recalibrated. Start with the smallest atom of reality you can move today, a 15-second action that contradicts a high-confidence prior. Send it. Ask it, name it, then stand still. Let the organism feel the shock of evidence that doesn't fit the old map. Do not drown it with celebration. Do not suffocate it with analysis. Hold the mismatch in clean silence until the nervous system admits, the world just shifted and I did not die. Precision begins there. Coherence becomes possible there. And from that seam in the fabric, an entirely different broadcast can be born. Now you stop pleading with probability and start engineering measurement. You stop manifesting as theater and begin manifesting as physics. Here is the method almost no one teaches because it is quiet, repeatable, and indifferent to hype. It is not about convincing the universe. It is about removing phase noise so your broadcast carries. Begin with nulling. For 90 seconds, do nothing that looks spiritual. Sit tall, feet grounded, jaw unclenched, gaze softly widened so the room belongs to you again. Inhale through the nose, count slowly to 5, exhale to 5. No elevation, no drama. You are not trying to feel good. You are synchronizing oscillators, respiration pacing the heart modulating the vagus quieting cortical jitter. Your physiology is the carrier wave. When it steadies, your intention will ride clean. Then you sample. Scan the body like a scientist, not to fix, only to measure. Throat, chest, gut, hands. Note signals without narrative. Tight, warm, cold, buzzing. This is high-fidelity interoception. When you report reality accurately, the prediction engine inside you lowers defensive certainty and becomes update-ready. Honesty is not moral here. It is mathematical. Now, coherence lock. Place 2 fingers lightly at the sternum to concentrate attention. Breathe a fraction slower than normal. Let the exhale finish completely. Summon not a fantasy, but a real memory that produces a stable, low, amplitude warmth. Something safe, ordinary, repeatable. You are not chasing euphoria. You are entering the narrow window where heart rate variability smooths and the system listens. The field reads this signature as signal density, not sentimentality. Remember, you are constructing a measurement environment, not auditioning for a miracle. Next comes the ask, but stripped to engineering. Craft a minimal sufficient command, 12 words or less, behavior specified, present tense, adjacent, and falsifiable by action today. Not, I attract abundance. Not, money flows easily. Say, schedule the pitch meeting with A by 4 p.m. today. Say, publish the landing page beta tonight by 20. Say, request the overdue payment now. Language is an instrument of constraint. When you constrain, probability space collapses faster. The observer effect loves clarity. Immediately pair the command with micro-evidence. Within 90 seconds, take the smallest irreversible step that makes reversal expensive. Draft the email subject line and the first sentence. Place the meeting on the calendar with a tentative hold. Buy the domain, open the design file and name it. Hit send on the gentle nudge. Your organism respects moves that change the environment. The field does too. Evidence is the atom of reality shift. Then do what almost no one will do. Hold the mismatch. After the micro-action, sit again for 60 seconds and let your nervous system feel the quiet shock of having behaved like someone whose future is real. Do not explode into celebration. Do not scroll. Let the Bayesian machinery update. The prior says, we avoid asking. The evidence says, we asked and survived. Hold the dissonance like a lens until it resolves. This is the alchemy prediction error metabolized into a new expectancy. The model shifts, the world follows. Enter the broadcast window. With your oscillators synchronized and the model warmed, devote 7 to 12 minutes to a single, consequential subtask aligned with the command. Timer on. No tabs, no leakage. Your attention is now a laser, not because you forced it, but because you removed friction. In this window, you are engraving a fresh path through the noisy field. The field amplifies what repeats without wobble. Close, clean, one breath, one line logged. What you moved, what changed. Not a diary, a measurement. By logging, you anchor the new prior as data, not myth. Data is hard to argue with, even for your ancient fear. Release. This is where people fail. They claw for proof. Do not remeasure the oven every minute to see if the bread rose. You have already changed the initial conditions. Let the distribution evolve. Return to ordinary tasks and refuse to contaminate the carrier wave with frantic checking. Detachment here is not metaphysical detachment, it is bandwidth conservation. At day's end, perform a short coherence audit. Did breath set the clock? Did the command fit the rule 12 words? Behavior ready, falsifiable today. Did micro-evidence occur inside 90 seconds? Did you hold the mismatch long enough to feel the model slip? Did the broadcast window run without wobble? This is not self-judgment. This is signal hygiene. Repeat tomorrow. Repeat until repeating is identity. The organism learns by rhythm. The field amplifies by rhythm. The world bends, not because you begged, but because your clocks agreed. You anchored in physics. You kept it sparse. You moved the smallest atom that mattered and let coherence compound. And now the air around you carries a different timestamp. The method is not complete until the chooser changes. You took small actions. You held mismatch, you opened a broadcast window, but if the underlying compiler, the identity that translates intention into default behavior, remains old, the system will slowly reassemble the former world and call it fate. You are here to interrupt that silent reassembly. You are here to rewrite the code that chooses you before you speak. Identity, in this architecture, is a hierarchy of priors weighted by confidence. Confidence is purchased by repetition under safety. Safety is purchased by precision under honesty. The organism updates not because you shouted at it, but because you showed it a consistent world in which the new pattern doesn't kill you. That is why you will now build the 3 quiet instruments almost nobody builds: the friction map, the proof ledger, and the coherence ladder. Start with the friction map. Take one objective single, clear, consequential. Under it, list every micro-friction your organism uses to protect the old model. The chair that angles you into slouch and dials your arousal wrong. The notification that extracts 6 watts of focus at random intervals. The browser bookmark that teleports you to anesthesia. The late-night light that steals tomorrow's HRV. Do not moralize. Measure. Allocate 1 hour to removing at least 3 frictions by design, not by willpower. Change the chair, angle, and distance. Batch notifications into 2 strict windows. Bury the anesthetic bookmark behind a folder named Not Today. Install a warm light after sunset to protect circadian coherence. You are not getting disciplined. You are lowering the threshold for right action until it fires as easily as breathing. When threshold drops, identity feels natural. Natural repeats. Now, the proof ledger. Your nervous system doesn't speak affirmations, it speaks evidence counts. Each day, record exactly 3 proofs that the new pattern expressed in the world, not theory proof. Sent the pitch email to A. Stood still for 60 seconds after sending and felt the tremor settle. Completed the 7-minute window on the landing page without wobble. Keep the ledger minimal, 1 line each, never more than 3. The scarcity is deliberate. The brain weights fewer, clearer proofs higher than a blizzard of noise. Review the ledger briefly before your broadcast window, not to hype yourself, but to present the compiler with compressed data. We do this now, and we survive. Climb the coherence ladder. Choose 4 rungs: breath, posture, gaze, language. Before any ask, align these 4 in order. Breath, 5 in, 5 out. Finish the exhale. Posture, pelvis under, chest soft, neck long. You occupy vertical space without theatrical swell. Gaze, horizon, level, panoramic rather than tunnel. You own depth of field. Language, a minimal sufficient command, 12 words or less. Present, adjacent, falsifiable by action today. When those rungs lock, the carrier wave stabilizes and the command rides with minimal distortion. This is not style coaching. This is RF engineering with flesh. You will also inoculate against the 2 corruptions that collapse coherence after a few good days: omen, chasing, and variable rewards. Omen chasing is superstition, disguised as spiritual sensitivity. Your organism seeks external microsignals to outsource decision-making and avoid risk. Variable rewards are dopamine casinos, random checking of metrics and messages that create brittle arousal and erode deep work. Install the Anti-Omen protocol. Decisions route first through the ladder, then through the micro-evidence step, never through a symbol in the street or a number on a car. Install the anti-casino protocol. Checking metrics occurs at 2 fixed times, under 3 minutes, with the ledger open so the numbers land inside context rather than hijack context. You are not going numb. You are refusing to let randomness own your clocks. Now meet the shadow of arrival, the fear that success will cost belonging, rest, or love. Older code whispers that shining isolates you, that solvency makes you cold, that requests ruin tenderness. If unaddressed, this shadow will sabotage with surgical precision. Address it with reconsolidation. Evoke a gentle memory of being supported when taking a risk. Feel it fully for 20 seconds under calm breath. Then, while the memory is malleable, pair it with a present, small, risky action. Send the ask, publish the page, name the fee. This couples threat with safety and rewrites the emotional tag on forward motion. You are not tricking yourself. You are editing the header of a file that needed a new label. Introduce the identity compiler. It has 4 outputs. The world can measure instantly. Gait, tone, micro, expression, micro, boundary. Walk like your pelvis is a metronome set to calm. It prevents your chest from performing anxiety. Speak like each sentence is an instruction to the field. Shorter, slower, warmer at the edges. Let the corners of your eyes relax. Honesty reads there before words. And practice 1 micro boundary per day. Protect 15 minutes of focused work. Decline 1 misaligned request politely. Ask for 1 small improvement in a recurring process. Boundaries are coherence hardened into culture. Culture is identity scaled. Expect entropy. Coherence leaks. The tax is daily. When you wake flat, you do not negotiate. You run the ladder. You pick the smallest irreversible step. You register it in the ledger. You move your body for 2 minutes to signal readiness. You reopen the window for 7 to 12 minutes. That is all. No pep talk, no drama. The compiler obeys rhythm. Rhythm recovers signal. Listen, something subtle has already changed. Your wanting has become quieter, and your actions carry heat without hurry. Your environment no longer argues with you. Your body believes you a little. The field, being exquisitely literal, has started amplifying the frequencies that repeat with least wobble. This is not a miracle. This is measurement obeyed over time. Keep going. The chooser is rewriting itself in the only language it trusts. Consistent evidence under safety. And as the chooser updates, reality does what it always does under a stable timestamp. It converges. Coherence inside you is leverage. Coupling it to the field is scale. You have tuned your oscillators, rewritten the compiler, and begun to anchor proof. Now you will extend the circuit beyond skin, because manifestation is not a private hobby. It is the way information negotiates with environment until matter yields. The field does not resist. It reflects density. You will increase density through 3 layers of coupling: spatial, social, and symbolic. Precision over flourish. Signal over spectacle. Spatial coupling begins with geometry. Rooms are not neutral. They are waveguides. Corners trap low, frequency clutter loose papers, unresolved tasks, half decisions radiating low-grade noise. Clear 1 corner completely and dedicate it to broadcast. A chair with upright angles, a table with nothing on it but a notebook and a timer, a light source that warms rather than glares. Place your chair so your line of sight opens to depth, not a wall at arm's length. Depth of field in vision invites depth of future in cognition. The optic nerve is part of your clock tree. When you face depth, the organism forecasts longer horizons and chooses actions that compound. Put your back to the entries you cannot control. Predictability is how the midbrain stops defensive polling and unfreezes creative bandwidth. This is not feng shui superstition. It is threat modeling for spatial nervous systems. Install a field anchor. A single object with high autobiographical charge that represents the world you are building. Not aspirational fluff, not a luxury brochure, an artifact tied to a specific future behavior. A prototype, a rough sketch of the product, a printed invoice template with your new fee, a letter of acceptance to the kind of collaboration you court. Put it within peripheral vision during the broadcast window. Peripheral cues slip under verbal censorship and entrain posture and breath. You are running a low-latency loop between sight, spine, and intention. Social coupling is the most volatile layer because other nervous systems are transmitters with their own priors. You will not try to convert anyone. You will measure contagion. For 7 days, run the interaction audit. After any encounter message, call, coffee, tag it with +2, +1, 0, -1, or -2, based on post-interaction signatures. Breath, smoothness, gaze breadth, urge to act, clarity of command. This is physiology, not politics. Accumulate the week's tags and identify 1 recurring mismun and 1 recurring +1 human context. Adjust the broadcast window so that it lands immediately after a +1 contact, not before. Ambient uplift multiplies the chance of consequential work. Place the mind zone contact after logistics, never before asks. If possible, move it to asynchronicity, text over call, email over meeting. You are not avoiding difficulty. You are sequencing neurochemistry to help the right version of you make the higher probability move. Establish a reciprocity loop with one ally only. Tell them the exact structure of your minimal sufficient command. Ask them for a daily 2-line exchange at a fixed hour. Command declared, micro-evidence executed, no cheering, no advice, no stories. Sterile, because sterile is scalable. This loop replaces variable reward chasing with a fixed reward rhythm, the smallest social contract that reinforces identity without feeding novelty addiction. 2 brains holding one drumbeat bend probability faster than one isolated heroic nervous system trying to outshout entropy. Symbolic coupling converts meaning into mechanics. Symbols compress instruction sets. Most people drown in vague omens. You will mint a narrow symbol library with explicit bindings. Choose 3 and bind them to non-negotiable motor outputs. A hand over sternum equals ladder, run now. A single bell chime equals begin a 7 to 12 minute window within 60 seconds. The phrase evidence first, spoken aloud, equals produce micro proof before any search, scroll, or plan. Rehearse the bindings until they fire without debate. In crisis, cognition narrows. Pre-bound symbols retrieve whole routines through the spinal cord when language is noisy. Now you will perform field calibration, a short ritual of measurement, not mystique. Step into your cleared corner. Sit, set the timer to 8 minutes. 1 minute of nulling to set the carrier. 30 seconds to read yesterday's 3 proof ledger lines aloud, slowly, to mark continuity. 20 seconds to look at the field anchor until a very small warmth gathers behind the sternum. Then, speak the day's command, 12 words, present, adjacent, falsifiable now. Immediately execute 90 seconds of micro-evidence. Return to the chair, hold the mismatch, let the organism register. The world will not punish this move. When the timer rolls into the remaining minutes, enter the broadcast window. When the timer ends, stand, log 1 line, and leave the corner without lingering. The leaving is part of the ritual. It prevents rumination from smearing the broadcast with craving. Probability will answer with friction disguised as trivia, a printer jam, a minor misunderstanding, a message that tempts you to argue your dignity instead of building your future. Do not moralize it. Treat it as stochastic noise in an amplifying system. Your job is not to delete noise. It is to preserve coherence under noise so that the signal's growth outruns randomness. Each time you keep the ladder, produce micro-evidence, and return to the window, you increase the odds that chance collisions organize into pathways. This is how emergence feels from inside a body like tedium, punctuated by clean, quiet inevitabilities. You will also set a boundary beacon, one simple line you speak when the world tries to rent your transmitter for free. I'm focused for the next 10 minutes. I'll return to this after. Repeat without apology. The sentence is not for them. It is a checksum for you, a way to confirm that the packet of attention you're sending has not been corrupted by someone else's urgency. Coupling culminates in a subtle change you will not celebrate publicly. Doors start opening where walls used to be, but they do so in proportional response to your steadiness. You ask once and are met. You move once and something moves with you. Not luck, not magic. 2 tuned oscillators, locking. You are not moving through time. You are assembling it. The future is not a place you approach. It is a distribution that collapses where your measurement is densest. Up to now, you have stabilized the carrier wave, rewritten the chooser, coupled to space, people, and symbols. Now you will do what almost no manifestor attempts. You will engineer timelines with the same sobriety a physicist uses to tune a laser by bandwidth, by error correction, by redundancy, by phase-locked decision trees. This is not mysticism rejecting science. This is mysticism wearing a lab coat. Begin with bandwidth budgeting. Every day sells its watts to bidders. Fear, novelty, logistics, creation. You will pre-allocate a fixed bandwidth to the future you are sculpting and protect it like oxygen. 40% of your highest fidelity hours route to value, creating moves, not to maintenance, not to performance for others, not to reactivity. Identify your coherence crest windows, the 90-minute blocks when your physiology is most stable. typically 90 to 150 minutes after waking, and again in late afternoon, and schedule your broadcast windows inside these crests, not after them. A timeline gains density where attention lands most consistently under low noise. That is where probability collapses first. Add temporal anchors, the 6 timestamps each day that pull you back on rail if you drift. Wake, first window. Mid-morning reset. Second window. Dusk audit. Pre-sleep seal. Each anchor contains 3 moves: ladder alignment, breath, posture, gaze, language, a minimal sufficient command, and micro-evidence. You are not trying to be perfect. You are building redundancy so that a single broken moment cannot knock the day off its destined vector. Redundancy is mercy written in mathematics. Now, implement error correction. Noise will flip bits, doubt spikes, emails misread. An old voice tries to reclaim authority. Borrow from coding theory. Before each consequential action, attach a trio of parity checks to detect corruption. Check posture. Am I collapsed forward? Check breath. Am I holding air? Check language. Did my command bloat beyond 12 words? If any parity fails, you do not judge. You re-encode the packet. Straighten, exhale completely, prune the sentence, then transmit. Over time, these checks make your ask self-healing under stress. Timelines prefer packets that repair themselves. Construct a resonant decision tree. Most people decide from scarcity or arousal. You will decide from resonance under constraint. For any fork, write 2 micro-scenarios, each no more than 3 lines. The cost, the first irreversible step, the proof you could log today. Sit for 60 seconds in coherence, then ask the body, not the fantasy, which fork produces cleaner, steadier warmth behind the sternum and a relaxed jaw. Choose the fork that increases signal density in the next 24 hours, not the one that pays more status now. Destiny is compound interest on small, low-noise choices. Your jaw knows faster than your ego. Install the no backtracking rule. Once you enact an irreversible micro-step toward a fork, you commit for 24 hours without polling omens or advisors. The organism hates irreversibility because it kills the dopamine of wavering. The field loves it because it reduces entropy. No backtracking collapses timeline ambiguity and frees watts previously spent redeciding the same decision. Your future is waiting for that wattage. Practice stochastic grace. Not everything can be scheduled. Randomness is a feature, not a bug. You will ride it without letting it own you. Create a serendipity aperture each day, 15 unscheduled minutes after a broadcast window where you deliberately wander 1 layer out from your plan. Skim a single paper, send a curious note, stand in daylight and let an idea find you. The aperture is bounded by the timer. When it rings, you seal. This is how you invite novelty without sacrificing coherence. The best timelines contain planned inevitabilities and bounded accidents. Sequence momentum. Momentum is not an emotion. It is the probability that the next aligned act is easier than the last. You will stack 4 actions, so each reduces friction for the next. Ask triggers, file open triggers draft, draft triggers send triggers ledger. Chain them tightly so completion coins fall into the tray without gaps where fear can spend them on argument. Then rest not as reward, but as protocol. Rest locks gains into the compiler. Address time debt. Procrastination is a loan taken against tomorrow's coherence at exponential interest. Identify 1 recurring task you defer weekly: admin, accounting, cleanup. Place it immediately after your highest value window in a short, non-negotiable slot. The message to the organism is clear. We create, then we clean. Cleaning reduces background entropy, which reduces jitter, which increases the chance that tomorrow's window begins clear instead of fogged with residue. Timelines harden where residue thins. Adopt the 2-clock model. You carry a tactical clock, hours, days, and a prophetic clock, quarters, years. Once per week, at the same hour, you will lift your gaze to the prophetic clock and write 3 sentences only. The arc you are bending, the single constraint that most impedes compounding, to the 1 lever to move next week. Then return to the tactical clock and carve 1 concrete broadcast aligned with that lever into your top coherence crest. This keeps the near-term laser and the long-term lighthouse in conversation. Without the lighthouse, lasers burn holes in the wrong wall. Without the laser, lighthouses remain pretty metaphors. Install the silence of victory. As outcomes begin to land, resist the ancient reflex to narrate your ascent for validation. Broadcasting too early converts compounding momentum into social sugar. Keep results inside the ledger until the pattern is too dense to fail. Let your body learn that success is a quiet, repeating timestamp, not a spike of applause followed by crash. The field amplifies quiet. Finally, sanctify irreversibility with a vow that fits you and no one else. Not a grand oath. A small, precise constraint that crystallizes identity. I ship one proof by noon daily. I ask for my fee without apology. I never check metrics before the first window. Recite it at wake, at dusk. Vows harden timelines. Not because the universe judges you, but because your compiler relaxes when the rule is simple enough to enforce. Now the room feels subtly angled toward you. Emails you send get answered faster. People mirror your cadence without knowing why. Opportunities arrive not as flashes of fortune, but as ordinary next steps that land, because the air is calibrated to receive them. This is what timeline engineering feels like, not fireworks, but the quiet certainty that you are building a rail through fog and discovering that the train, obedient to physics, arrives. The field is listening, but matter moves like a glacier until it doesn't. There is a moment when nothing seems to change, and then a minute later everything is different. That instant is not magic. It is a phase transition. The order parameter inside your life crosses a threshold, and the system reconfigures. Water at 0.1 degrees Celsius is still water until a single crystal seeds and the lattice snaps into place. You have been lowering temperature with coherence and adding seed crystals called proofs. Now you will formalize the conversion from evidence to inevitability. Name the order parameter. For your aim, choose the one measurable behavior whose rise predicts the world you intend. Qualified asks per week, shipped artifacts per day, revenue, bearing conversations per cycle. Commit to one only. An order parameter that is fuzzy cannot govern a transition. You will track it with a ruthless softness, unemotional, precise, daily. Install the Proof Density Index, PDI. Not all proofs weigh the same. Density is proof per unit of time while coherence remains intact. PDI rises when you cluster small, irreversible actions in a short window without wobble. It falls when actions are scattered or surrounded by checking, bragging, or bargaining. For the next 14 days, run a daily micro-sprint. 2 to 4 proofs in 12 minutes, executed inside a coherence lock. Log them as atoms, no adjectives. The goal is not volume, it is local density. Dense neighborhoods of evidence become nucleation sites in the field. Introduce the Irreversibility Quota. Each day must contain one action that would create friction to undo. Sending a price, booking a date, publishing a draft, placing a deposit, declining a misaligned offer in writing. Irreversibility collapses wavering. Wavering is heat. Heat melts coherence. Your quota is a thermostat for timelines. Expect critical slowing down. As systems approach a phase change, they resist small pushes and recover slowly from perturbations. You may feel sleepy, oddly reluctant, or pointlessly irritated just before breakthroughs. Do not spiritualize it. This is physics expressing as mood. When you detect slowing, tighten protocol rather than increase force. Shorter commands, cleaner breath, smaller but irreversible proofs, more frequent ladder checks. You are not failing. You are nearing the snap. Counter hysteresis. After a transition, systems often retain a memory of the old phase and try to slip backward under stress. You will build an anti-regression shield composed of 3 daily locks: the ledger glance before your first window, the irreversibility quota before noon, a 2-minute dusk audit where you read today's 3 lines aloud and breathe until the jaw releases. The shield is not self-help. It is a loop that convinces your compiler the new lattice holds, even when noise returns. Create percolation paths. In network science, connectivity emerges when enough nodes turn on. Choose 5 nodes in your world that, if switched, would allow results to flow without you pushing every edge. A payment link live, a scheduling link live, a modular offer page, a one-sentence introduction request template, a pre-written reminder script. Turn each node on this week. With paths open, a single ask can propagate through the network instead of dying at a closed valve. Run the critical mass week. For 7 consecutive days, you will compress all major moves into the same daily hour, the top of your first coherence crest. Each day contains ladder alignment, 1 minimal sufficient command, 1 irreversibility quota act, 1 7 to 12 minute broadcast, 1 ledger line. You will not check metrics in this hour. You will not announce progress. You will end the hour with a stand and a walk beneath open sky. When significant systems receive the same timestamp repeatedly, they synchronize by necessity. This week is a metronome the field cannot ignore. Install contingency tables. The mind tells stories. The field reads counts. For the next month, keep a simple 2 times 2 beside your desk. Ask sent divided by ask ignored. Ask sent divided by ask advanced. Artifact shipped divided by no response. Artifact shipped divided by opportunity opened. Tally with marks, not paragraphs. Patterns will appear faster than they can be rationalized. You will discover, to your surprise, that 3 ignored asks produce a 4th that lands, not by luck, but by the clustering tendency of coherent sequences. When you see the cluster, you push 1 extra proof in the same hour. That is how avalanches start, with 1 more flake on a slope already primed. Adopt the silence window. After any meaningful advance, yes, or paid, or opened, enter a strict 60-minute vow of quiet. No metrics, no sharing, no shopping for a bigger feeling. Let the organism absorb reality without spiking and crashing. This stabilizes the new order parameter and prevents premature oscillation around the threshold. Winds that are not stabilized become loops of chase. Stabilized winds become rails. Rehearse the cold ask, warmth in tone, cold in math. You speak like this: calm breath, shoulders light, sentence short, fee clear, time bound. You do not explain value, you state scope. You do not guess their story, you guard your bandwidth. Cold asks respect the field's precision. The universe answers engineers. Finally, surrender control of arrival while guarding control of input. You will not yank sprouts. You will water at dawn, prune at dusk, and stop digging up roots to check growth. The lattice is forming. You will know because your order parameter rises even on dull days, and because small acts produce outsize echoes. The glacier moves, then breaks, then runs. Hold steady. The snap is near. Inevitability must learn to breathe inside storms. You are crossing the zone where success attracts interference not as cosmic punishment, but as a basic law of signal ecology. Dense broadcasts draw competing transmissions. Randomness increases around ordered structures. The answer is not to hide your light. The answer is to engineer anti-noise traits so your lattice strengthens under disturbance. Begin with immunity by design. Most people chase motivation. You will engineer invariance behaviors that fire regardless of mood, weather, or news. Choose 3 invariants small enough to execute at near zero willpower and large enough to keep the lattice alive. The ladder before any outbound message, 1 irreversibility quota act before noon, 1 7 to 12 minute broadcast window at the same hour daily. Misses are not character failures. They are statistical outliers you correct by returning to the mean the very next cycle. Immunity emerges when the organism experiences repetition through varied internal climates and discovers it does not break. Install the shock absorber. The world will try to spend your watts in lawsuits of dignity, micro-injustices, performative obligations, noise disguised as urgent alignment. Your absorber is a 3-line decision filter used under breath. Is this my rail? Can proof be produced in 12 minutes? Will this action raise my order parameter this week? If 2 no's appear, you route the request outside the broadcast window or decline with 1 line. Not aligned with my current rail. This is not cruelty, it is thermal management. Heat belongs in creation. Now expand your bandwidth without shredding coherence through modularization. Break your value-creating activity into modules that can be executed independently and recombined without cognitive friction. Research module, 12 minutes. Outline module, 12 minutes. Draft module, 24 minutes. Polish module, 12 minutes. Ship module, 6 minutes. Label files and templates, so any module can start cold. Modularity converts scattered time into productive orbit segments instead of debris. When a day is fractured by meetings or travel, modules keep the order parameter rising. Introduce morphic discipline. Fields remember shapes. If your asks, artifacts, and agreements share a recognizable geometry, they propagate more easily through human networks. Decide the shape. Short, specific, time-bound, scope, stated. Enforce the shape across email, page, call, offer. The repetition creates a morphic imprint. People learn how to slot you into their world without translation costs. Translation is where momentum leaks. Shape is where it compounds. Practice coherent aggression. Aggression here is not hostility. It is unambiguous forward pressure applied with calm physiology. You move first on openings, you set terms, you choose next steps. You limit options you present. You protect the rail with early, clean no's. Coherent aggression is warm in tone, simple in sentence, immovable in boundary. The field loves clarity. Predators, paradoxically, avoid it. Parasites cannot hook into it. Your integrity becomes armor and invitation simultaneously. Establish the noise budget. Zero noise is a fantasy. Controlled noise is a tool. Allocate 2 micro windows per day for deliberate drift. 5 minutes of scan, 3 minutes of metric check, 2 minutes of social glance. When the timer ends, you sever. This trains the dopamine system to expect bounded novelty and reduces the probability of compulsive spirals. If you violate the budget, you do penance in physics, not shame. An extra irreversibility quota. Act today. The account balances in actions, not apologies. Build redundant rails. A single channel of opportunity makes you fragile. A small set of orthogonal channels makes you anti-fragile. Identify 3 rails that share the same order parameter, but different routes. Direct asks to ideal counterparts. Artifacts that attract inbound. Partnerships that open distribution. Feed each rail 1 proof per week. When one rail faces turbulence, the others carry load without needing drama. Redundancy is elegance, disguised as caution. Elevate your sensory precision. Most sabotage begins as micro-sensation you mislabel. Train granularity, not anxious, but jaw-tight, micro-buzz in hands, breath high. Not blocked, but head-forward posture, vision narrow, shoulders raised 3 millimeters. Labeling at fine resolution reduces limbic ambiguity. Ambiguity is what the prediction engine treats as threat. When threat drops, prefrontal power returns, and the next proof becomes obvious again. Precision is kindness to cognition. Conduct post-event reconsolidation. After anything consequential, win, loss, silence, you will capture the body state and rewrite tags. Sit for 90 seconds. Replay the moment while breathing evenly. If win, allow warmth to expand without spike. Pair it with the invariant you did beforehand, so the compiler links success to protocol, not luck. If loss, keep breath slow while viewing the scene. Pair it with the smallest next proof, executed immediately after. The organism learns, wins do not unground me, losses do not erase me. Resilience becomes reflex. Codify external memory. As scale increases, the brain fails at holding context. Offload. Maintain 1 rail sheet visible during windows. Current order parameter, 3 invariants, this week's lever, today's command. Open loops with dates. Nothing else. Update only at anchors. By leaning on paper, you free working memory to compose reality instead of juggling it. Genius is often the absence of unnecessary load. Install the asymmetry hunt. Each week, seek 1 move where downside is capped and upside is open. A precise pitch to a higher leverage node, a test landing page that can scale, an ask that if accepted multiplies reach by 10. Write the worst case cost in 1 line. Execute under coherence. Asymmetry turns steady rails into step function rises. You are not gambling, you are stacking skew. Finally, declare a private treaty with time. You will not require the future to arrive on your preferred clock in exchange for your faithfulness today. You will place your proofs where your vow says they belong and permit the field to surprise you with route and timing. This releases clutch. Clutch is friction. Friction is heat. Heat melts the lattice. Now watch what shifts. Noise spikes, and you stay cold. Demands thicken, and your rail remains simple. A larger game begins courting you because you are the rare transmitter that scales without wobble. The field is pragmatic. It partners with what holds under pressure. You are becoming pressure-proof and therefore visible to destiny. The rail is strong, yet the living world will still bend you. There comes a night when the inbox is silent, the ally is late, the body is tired, and an old voice whispers that you built an elegant machine for a destiny you do not deserve. This is the liminal gate, the threshold where many turn back and tell a tidy story about timing. You will not turn back. You will learn the physics of crossing without shattering the lattice you built. Start with controlled descent. When energy dips, most people slam the accelerator or abandon the vehicle. You will downshift. Reduce ambition to invariance while protecting identity. Keep the ladder. Keep the irreversibility quota. Keep one 7 to 12 minute broadcast. Strip everything else to maintenance. This is not retreat. It is thermal regulation. Power plants throttle output to service turbines. You throttle output to protect oscillators. The field respects instruments that do not burn themselves to signal sincerity. Measure the dark. Uncertainty feels infinite because you do not sample it. Take a notebook and run a 5-minute entropy scan. List every open loop that prowls the edge of your mind. Tag each with A, actionable in 12 minutes, B, requires a block, C, unclear. Then execute a single A immediately and schedule 1B at the next coherence crest. Leave C alone. You are separating noise from load. Load can be moved. Noise loses power when named. This is information theory applied to dread. Practice micro-surrender. Surrender is not quitting, it is ceasing to fight physics you cannot presently alter. Choose one invariant you will keep, even if nothing lands for a week. The daily irreversibility quota. Choose one indulgence you will allow without story. A quiet walk, a song on loop, a long shower. Pair them. The organism learns that you do not ransom relief to outcomes. Relief becomes endogenous. Endogenous relief stabilizes attention. Stabilized attention keeps you on rail when exogenous validation pauses. Install the blindfold drill. Once per week, run a window with minimal sensory novelty. No music, no news, no open chat, just timer, breath, file. The drill inoculates you against stimulation dependence. When the world withholds fireworks, your transmitter still produces heat. This is how professionals outlast amateurs. They can work in grayscale. Transmute shame into latency. Shame says you are late and therefore unworthy. Physics says latency is the gap between signal and system response. Name the last 10 significant wins in your life and write the average delay between proof and payoff. Keep the number where you can see it. When your chest tightens at hour 18 without reply, point to the number and breathe. You are not late. You are inside average latency. The model calms when shown a graph instead of a myth. Run the 2-vector prayer. Prayer here is not petition, it is alignment. 2 vectors, gratitude and demand. Gratitude marks ground, 3 precise lines, naming real supports present now. Demand marks direction, 1 sentence, naming your minimal sufficient command in clean, cold language. Speak both aloud, steady, back to back. Gratitude prevents grasping from contaminating the carrier. Demand prevents gratitude from becoming sedation. The universe understands prayers, shaped like vectors. Create a fail-fast containment. Failure expands when its edges are undefined. Declare a boundary condition. If a critical ask returns no signal after N business days, you advance the next rail without waiting. And you do not send apology messages to resurrect silence. This is not stubbornness. It is bandwidth conservation. You are refusing to inflate dead nodes with emotional power. Entropy shrinks when the container is firm. Practice witness compression. In hard hours, the mind seeks an audience to offload pain. Choose one witness-only mentor, friend, journal, and compress the discharge to 3 sentences. What happened, what you felt, what you will do in the next 12 minutes. Compression preserves dignity and keeps your transmitter from diffusing into narrative haze. Destiny trusts organisms that suffer briefly and then act. Rehearse the anti-relapse sequence. Old comforts will sparkle. Endless tweaking, soft addictions, heroic planning that never ships. Pre-bind a 4-step sequence for contact with an old loop. Breathe out completely. Stand and change location. Speak your vow once. Execute a 90-second micro-proof. If urge persists, you repeat the sequence once more, then allow a short, bounded indulgence from the noise budget. You do not argue with compulsion. You root around it with design. Hold the night watch. Once, not often, you will choose to work late, not from panic, but from sovereign command. The night watch is ceremonial. 1 window under lamplight, 1 proof, 1 ledger line, 1 walk beneath the sky. No metrics, no bargaining. You are telling the field that your vow holds in all weathers. Systems remember such nights. They become legends in the compiler. Then, you sleep with intention. Darkness is not empty. It is an optimization phase. Before bed, read the ledger's 3 strongest proofs from the last week. Place the rail sheet near the pillow. Whisper the vow. Sleep trains priors. Priors govern mornings. Mornings decide worlds. You wake quieter than before, not because the world simplified, but because you have become a custodian of heat. The gate doesn't announce that you crossed it. It allows you through and closes behind you forever. And in that hush, a new landscape appears. Not louder, not faster, simply nearer. The field has moved closer to your mouth. Your words carry farther. Your asks land softer. Your life begins to feel like a metronome that something larger is playing. You stand where the machine ends and the vow begins. Not at the summit, but at the switch yard, hands on levers you once believed belonged to gods. You have learned to null noise, to lock coherence, to etch proof into days until the field conceded structure. You asked without tremor. You moved without theater. You treated reality like an instrument that answers to measurement, not mood. Now you cross the last quiet distance, the place where method dissolves into nature, where doing becomes being, where the rail becomes you. You breathe and the clocks agree. The heart's variability writes a soft envelope. The breath finishes its exhale, like a signature you recognize. The gaze widens until the room gains depth, and the future enters. You speak a sentence so small it cannot lie. 12 words, clean edges, present adjacent, falsifiable now. The sentence is not a wish. It is the final coordinate in a system already aligned. You don't bargain with omens. You don't nurse suspense. You transmit. Then you let the distribution evolve. This is how power looks when it refuses performance. Sparse, exact, unembarrassed. Hear this clearly. Manifestation was never about convincing a universe to love you. It was about ceasing to counterfeit your signal. It was about ending the civil war between language and physiology so the field could return a single answer. It was about retiring superstition, exiling noise, and remembering that the observer effect is not a metaphor you post, but a discipline you embody. You have become the kind of instrument reality trusts, so you sanctify your invariance. Ladder before any outbound, 1 irreversible act before noon, 1 broadcast window that never moves. You protect your order parameter like a flame cup sheltered in wind. You carry your proof ledger not as a trophy but as a metronome. You keep your anti-casino, your anti-omen, your parity checks, not for fear, out of respect for entropy. You stop insisting on fireworks and accept the nobler miracle, compounding. Rails laid quietly through fog until trains arrive as if they had always intended to. There will be days when the glacier creeps 1 millimeter. There will be mornings when latency feels like judgment. On those days you remember the numbers that calmed you, the averages that told the truth, the slope that never lied. You whisper your vow. You ship your smallest atom. The field records another timestamp. It is enough. Now the transmission seals. The chooser has been rewritten by evidence under safety. The environment has been tuned by geometry and refusal. The social lattice has been edited by boundaries that hum instead of argue. Your timeline has been engineered by redundancy and silence. Your organism has become anti-noise by design. Nothing left to prove. Only rails to keep, windows to open, proofs to place like seeds in weather you no longer try to bribe. Step forward, not to conquer, to synchronize. Ask once, move once, log once, release. Let the world collapse toward your density and rebuild in your cadence. Let results land wearing ordinary clothes. Let fortune find you already working. When gratitude rises, keep it quiet enough to strengthen muscle rather than spike. When thresholds snap and lattices reconfigure, nod like a custodian who understands the physics of inevitability. You are finished manifesting wrong because you have stopped manifesting at all. You measure, you align, you act, you become, and the field, impartial and intimate, answers in kind.